Hey, I am Moma Boo. You guys may know me from Athens Park. However, I'm a mother, an entrepreneur. I have a nonprofit as well as a motorcycle club, as well as I have a YouTube channel. So, I'm a woman of many hats.
For the dime moves and the lokes, for the 6-4s on spokes, for the OGs that did a dime, came back around on parole, for the homegirls with the scrap game, little homies that gang bang, from Pelican Bay to YA, rearrange your mind frame. Yeah, I know what you've been through, shit you had to go tend to. Your mama gave birth on the turf, I know them killers you kin to. This for the lost generation, broke his
a lot of, lifting weights, and I was on swole. They start calling me Big Miz.
Original stutter box, East Side 5, who's Pebble on Bishop, Mill City Gangster Bloods.
Yeah, make video, you know, this is for sure, Yeah, make video, open your soul.
This is only the beginning.
So today we're here basically because my birthday is May 30th and today is May 26th. So I wanted to invite Kev Mac to do a birthday video for me. So that's why Kev Mac is here for my birthday video. Hey, I will be the big 4-0.
Tell me a little bit about your background. Where was you born and raised?
Born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Starting out, I was raised off of 108 in Figueroa until the age of 5, and then I moved to Athens Park, the South Bay Villas, and my mother still lives there now. So we're talking, my mom has been there over 36 years.
All right, a real Los Angelino.
Yes.
Going through elementary, where did you go?
Started out, I went to Figueroa Street School when I was over in the Denver Lanes. Went there, I think, kindergarten and first grade. And then I moved to Athens and went to Mark Twain Elementary. Amastoy, I went there in Gardena for 5th grade. And then went to Vanguard Middle School for 6th through 8th and Centennial. Well, Centennial from 9th through 11th, and then I went to Cedar Chavez and finished Cedar Chavez, but graduated from Centennial.
Who's in the household? Your brothers, sisters, mother, father?
Growing up, it was me, my mother, and my brother. From the age of, I would say, 6, my dad was in a penitentiary until I was about 12 years old, and he got out and was out for approximately almost a year and got murdered. So growing up, it was just me and my brother, my mother's other son. Well, son.
You care to tell me why your father was in prison, and did he have any gang background?
You know what? I don't know exactly for that time why he was in the penitentiary, but yes, he had a horrific gang background. He was from Bonnie Hunters, and I mean, my dad was a motherfucker, like from what I understood or what have you, gang banging on small levels, but more so pimping, killing, drugs, all that. He was into all that. Things that I don't personally know about.
Okay. And how old was you when he died?
I was 12.
12 years old. Okay. What's mom's doing at the time?
Mom was doing her very mild, very meek. What I will say is stable, but from the age of what I can remember, she was always on drugs, always on crack. So from the age of what I can remember, I remember her drinking her 800 and disappearing. And once I grew up, I knew what it was that she was smoking. But she was never a streetwalker. Let me just say that. She was never a streetwalker. She never had a household that was open where people was coming in and out the household. Nothing like that.
So she was functional?
Yes.
Did you have any animosity toward her when you found out?
Not until I was more of a teenager and knew what was going on, and then I started slanging. So I knew what it was at that point, and then I did develop animosity because I looked back and I was able to see how she wasn't there for me due to her drug addiction.
Coming from a household where your mother's using and you end up selling, did you feel like you guys grew up poor or average?
We grew up poor, and why I would say we grew up poor is because instead of going school shopping for me, or instead of buying me certain things that I need, she would spend that on drugs. And as far as in like school clothes or whatever, I used to always wear hand-me-downs from, older girls in my apartment building or cousins or whatever. I would get hand-me-downs opposed to her actually going school shopping for me. So I would say that we was poor. It was always lack of food in the household due to her drug use.
And when do you become aware of the Athens Park?
Middle school is when I became aware of it.
what was the influence and what impact did it have on you?
Well, I would say in middle school, you had different gangs. You had people that I grew up with from Athens Park, and once they started to claim it, like we got of age, you had other gangs there like Westside Piru. We had Village Town, the Millers. So it was a lot of different people that was claiming different things. But at the time of Vanguard Middle School, I wasn't active. I wasn't affiliated with gangs. I was just more of a tomboy playing sports. I played basketball, started in middle school, as well as softball. So I was more that kid that couldn't read, but did what I could do just to be able to play sports. So I really wasn't paying attention to gangs in middle school. It wasn't until about 9th grade high school with walking to Centennial to where I started to get turned up and started to understand more about the gang life and started to lean toward that way and fell into that way.
Was your influence females or males that got you wanting to be part of that?
I couldn't say that it was females because I didn't hang with girls. I didn't like girls because they too catty, they be on that other shit. And I was more of a tomboy, like I say. So it was just more the environment, everybody as a whole, you know, just based on people fighting a lot. And I was a good fighter as a young girl, but I contribute that to not being able to read, not being able to write. So I was always confrontational because I had skeletons basically as a kid that I didn't want to be revealed, that I wasn't up to par with my reading and writing. So gangs was just something I fell into because it was something to do, as well as I was cool with doing it. I mean, I was about it.
So at this point, you're not good in school.
Right.
Okay. The question everybody gonna want to know. I mean, I could do a lead in, but I'll just jump straight to it. How did the men take to you being a gorgeous, attractive female, wanting to gang bang and hanging around them? What was that like?
I wouldn't say that they took to me. I get a lot of people that told me that they had a crush on me back then, but I was so violent. So it wasn't that I had boyfriends or nothing like that. Now you got to take it to perspective that this is a young girl and I didn't have body or nothing like that. I just had long, real long hair, and I wore hand-me-downs. So I wasn't one that someone was looking at that time. It's kind of like, you know, you look at the Maury show and it's like, this is how I was then, look at me now. I'm kind of like that, where the older I get, the better I look to myself. But as in middle school and high school, sort of, kind of, I wasn't nobody that nobody was trying to check for. I was like bummy-ish, but just bad and violent.
But the cold part is they couldn't even talk about you if you was a fighter, right?
No.
Did you fight boys?
Them was the ones I fought. Like, I have very few fights with girls, but the boys was the ones that I fought.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So at what point did you start getting recognized and making a name for yourself?
I will say about the last year of high school, because the last year of high school, me and my homegirl actually went to Sierra Chavez. And if you guys don't know, Sierra Chavez is maybe like 2 miles away from where we live at. And it's actually a Crip hood off of Wilmington 127. So we had to walk all the way there every day. And we was flamed up all the time. Like, we did this on purpose. Like, we was bad. And I started to be recognized because we was in a Crip school, gangbanging in a Crip school. And we had other kids, because they have Sierra Chavez and Harriet Tubman at that school. Harriet Tubman is for the girls that had babies. So we had a lot of people, per se. Well, I wouldn't even say per se, but we had a good handful of people that came from Centennial, whether it was had a baby or whatever, and they was up there not doing none of that. And me and my homegirl was like actually really up there fighting on campus, gang banging on campus. So it really became me and what I was doing, we'll say about 12th grade, with going to school with Crips.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids.
How old was you when you had your first kid?
I was 20 years old with my daughter.
Okay, so that's respectable after high school.
Yeah. I mean, I was in high school. First off, I've never cheated in no relationship, so I wasn't that girl. And in high school, I only had 2 boyfriends. So, I mean, I wasn't doing too much of nothing. If you were to get the statistics of a girl my age and what their sexual activities were, mine was like no. Because I didn't actually start having sex until about 11th grade. And with my homegirls and people I knew, I was late because they was doing things at Vanguard.
Which leads into your homeboys. Was they all trying to have sex with you?
Yeah, they was, but I had a boyfriend. So I ain't nobody trying to hear that.
So you was faithful.
I've always been faithful, like faithful to a fault.
and was this guy boyfriend from another hood? Was he a square, hustler? What was
my boyfriend, the first one was from Athens Park. That was up until probably 11th grade. And then I started dating someone from Westside Park. So yeah, they was not from my hood.
Ever messed with any Crips?
Yeah, I have.
During your gangbanging years, asking.
No.
Okay. Walk me through the psyche of a female gang member. And I mean, like, okay, do that. Happy birthday.
Thank you. The psyche, I can only walk through my psyche. I can't walk you through other people because there's different levels to it. You have girls that's out there on different levels, but the psyche of mine was, how can I put it? Because one thing I can say is I do not have family that gangbang. So I was never under a comfort blanket, or I had family that was like, they gave me a pass because that's whoop-de-whoop daddy daughter, or that's whoop-de-whoop little sister, whoop-de-whoop niece. I've never had that. So everything that I've done and developed, the name that I have for Boo Boo, is all me. This is not you start tripping with me and it's like, oh, that's whoop-de-whoop niece, so leave her alone, whatever. I never had that. I've never had that. There's no one in my family that gangbang other than a female cousin, but we ain't talking about that. But as far as in protection, so I don't know the psyche of other girls. Mine was more because I like to be violent at that time, and don't get me wrong, I think that's all wrong in how I was doing back then, but I was getting a kick out of harming people and just doing fuck shit. But I never had no one that I could call to come to my rescue other than my homeboys. It was just me and my 2 homegirls. So if you mess with one of us, then it's us 3 coming. I'm not getting on the phone calling my daddy. It was none of that for me.
Yeah, I like to tell people that's not aware of the gang culture how sick we are that we call it fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. Like, it was really, really fun to me. Like, I got off on it as far as in mentally thinking I'm super tough or whatever the case may be, and I wasn't scared. Like, I was doing a lot of things and really I was not scared, but I had a lot of anger in my heart based off of where my father got killed at, and where he got killed at was in a Crip neighborhood. And that just, once I got big and started gang banging, that just was all my focus. That was really the drive to me actually gang banging, is because my dad got killed in a Crip neighborhood. So that set me off when I started being stupid.
And it's important because there's always a trigger of why and when we started gangbanging.
Right.
So yours would be your father's.
Yeah, mine's my father.
So did you have any big homegirls lacing you on how to carry yourself like a woman, or the tomboy that you was?
I had a big homegirl, Lily, rest in peace, from Jarvis Street, from Athens. She was the one that was mostly just on my head about, in her particular words, was, boo boo, fuck that shit, get they ass. So, but she was the one I went to and I talked to about different personal issues, as well as she showed me the ropes of how to slang. You know what I'm saying? And always told me to go to school, do your work, but do you. And fuck these motherfuckers, you ain't no punk bitch and don't be acting like no punk bitch. So I went with that. So I would say Lily is the only one that actually was like what I call my hood mom. But other than that, I didn't have people like, I want to be very clear about this. I didn't have people that kind of comfort me, or people that showed me the rope, and people that was there for me, that was like, I got your back, other than my homeboys. I'm not saying it like that, but as in just growing up and what made me do what I did, I knew that I had to have my own back. That ain't nobody finna come have my back. So whatever I did in the street, I did that shit in the street, knowing that I can't get on the phone and call nobody. Now push come to shove, yeah, I'm gonna go tell my homies. You know what I'm saying? But I did not have that comfort blanket of family, or I didn't have that.
Do you ever feel like you was targeted by girls from your own area or from rival gang territory or even allies that target you because maybe the way you looked or because of the status you held in your hood?
I wouldn't say from my neighborhood, no, because they pretty much knew me. I mean, I had a few run-ins with different older females in my neighborhood, but it's not nothing to have a story about. But it was more so going to different neighborhoods and, you know, like different functions, backyard boogies or whatever. And that's really how I learned more of my fighting skills, like, you know, like 17 on up, with going somewhere. And like I said, I had long hair and I looked like how I look now. And it was the guys from their neighborhoods wanted to talk to me and my homegirls or whatever. And every time it was an issue, and we drunk and the other females is drunk, it was, I want to get out with that bitch right there. And it was always me. And it was always me because of the way I look. And it is what it is. And I used to always hear a lot of people like, are you sure you want to get out with her? Like, you sure? And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Tearing ass up. But it was one of those things where don't judge a book by its cover, because just because I have long hair and I want to be looking cute this day don't mean I didn't have hands.
Mm-hmm. So back to the big homegirls, was it ever a point that somebody told you or you just found within yourself that you wanted to be different from the so-called hood rats?
They didn't tell me nothing like that. I hung with the guys and I heard the stories and the conversations of how they talk about girls, you know, and it'd be just as easy as one of the girls will walk her right now and he'd go take her to the store, go buy her something, and time she leave, he talking about all the sex stuff that she did or whatever. So it always made me not want to do it. And then, like I say, I didn't start having sex until 11th grade. So I wasn't young. Well, 11th grade is young, but I wasn't like 13, 14, 15 doing this. But it was just, I've always felt that I wasn't meant for everybody.
So do you think it was more of you carried yourself like a woman, or because you were so down, so crazy that men may have been intimidated by you?
I didn't carry myself like a woman. I carried myself like a badass little girl. Like, I would say maybe they was intimidated because I was violent. Like, I was one of the chicks that was out there slapboxing in the parking lot with the homies, or, you know, like go to a party or whatever and maybe over there play fighting with the homeboys. So I wasn't walking around purses and lipstick, makeup. I did not start wearing makeup until in my 30s. So I was just regular chick, like, you know, hell, you say something smart, may slap you upside your head. So it could have been intimidation. It could have been, because I was by no means girly, by no means.
Being a female, was you privy to the male gang meetings?
Yeah, we was there. We was more on the outskirts of it, but we was at the park. We was there. No different than when back in the day when Bone did that movie Bastards of the Party. Me and my homegirl was there. We just didn't want to get on the camera because in our mind back then, we was like, we're not finna get on the camera and like where they could see our faces, because we was doing stuff in the streets. But we was there for the actual filming of Bastards of the Party, just on the outskirts. And even if it wasn't Bone, it was maybe the other guy that was with him, or it could have been Bone that asked us like, y'all want to be on camera, like y'all want to do an interview, and we looking like, hell no, like we don't want our face on the camera, and woo woo woo. So we was around. We was always around. I mean, around to the point where my first time going out of state, carrying weight out of state, I was still in high school.
How much, like, if me and you just had a conversation with a cop, he'd tell us about all the snitching going on.
Uh-huh.
From your position, obviously being a female, how often have you experienced men pillow talking and talking about other men from the gang being busters, or what they did and did not do, or how they didn't handle a situation?
Well, I didn't get none of my information from Pillow Talk because I've never dealt with any of my homeboys from Athens. So I didn't get no Pillow Talk. Now, don't get me wrong, my kid's father, all three of my kids have the same father, and he's the OG from Jarvis Street. And so that came, 19, 20 years old. But I just heard conversations. I'm like, if you were to describe a female as like the girl next door, or like the home girl, like your sister, that was me. So any conversation that was being said, I've heard it. It wasn't like, can't talk around Boo Boo or the other homegirls. I mean, I've heard their conversations, but as far as in Pillow Talk, I wasn't dealing with my homies, so.
At what point do you start slinging drugs?
I was about 17, half 18.
In high school or after?
It was during high school, not on campus, but during that time, like leading up to graduation.
You ever been approached to help set somebody up for robbery?
No, I've never set no one up. I've never done things like that. I mean, I just did that shit myself for me and my homegirls. But as far as in setting someone up, no.
But did anybody approach you and ask you to be part of that?
I would say,
like you could get close to him. You know
I've heard that. I've heard that, and my thing was, you go get close to him. I mean, I've never been with the setting up or nothing like that. No, I don't do anything sneaky. Let's be clear. Like anything that I've done, I was in your face with it. Like I don't steal. I may have took your shit, but I don't steal. You know, I never was on no sneaky stuff using my looks to lure a man. I've never done that. So no, I didn't do none of that type of stuff. If I was gonna take something, I'm taking from your face.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to prison?
No, I've never. Jesus did not want me to go to jail ever, because the shit that I've done, woo, yeah. I was meant to be here right now on this camera talking to y'all and changing some of the mindsets of the young girls. I was meant to do this.
Let's dive into the drug thing.
Okay.
So you start slinging drugs. You ever go out of town with them?
Mm-hmm. My first trip to Oklahoma, I was 17. I was still in high school. And I went out there with one of my older homeboys. We drove out there and drove back. So my first time going, I was 17 in high school and got in trouble by my mama because I didn't tell her, of course. And by the time I actually talked to her on the phone, I was in a whole nother state. So yeah, and I've done that before my daughter was born, because I stopped everything for the most part when I got pregnant with my daughter. So from 17 to about 19 and a half, I went out of state maybe 5 or 6 times.
So what year are we talking?
We're talking 98 through 2000.
What was the money like then in the late 90s for somebody running some work out of town?
Well, the first time I went, I think I got like $1,000. First time I went. So it wasn't nothing per se, as in you think about it now. The second time I went, I mean, the money went more and more and more because I started carrying more. The first time was like some little bitty something. So, but it was just, I mean, it was good for a 17, 18-year-old. I was able to buy 2 cars. You know, now to think about that and speak on that, if they wasn't luxury cars, looking at it now, they was like 2 decent buckets, but I was 18 years old with 2 cars. You know, and I've always had jewelry or whatever the case may be. So I thought I was popping. Couldn't nobody tell me nothing.
Give me your scariest gangbanging moment. Some maybe getting shot at or somebody coming through and you hearing it might go down or something.
I mean, I don't know if it sounds crazy, but I wasn't scared about that shit. I mean, like, it was moments where drive-bys and all that, and you ducking and you running because you don't want to get hit by a bullet, obviously, but I wasn't scared when that was happening. So I couldn't tell you a scary moment. I done seen homies get shot by me, but I wasn't scared. It was anger. So I can't say of a moment that I was just like actually scared.
A dude standing right by you get shot and you're not tripping?
I was mad. Like, you know, like, and that sounds so dumb, like how dumb we be with that bullshit. I was never scared. Like, and that don't even sound like me saying it, but I can only be honest. Like, I wasn't scared.
Looking back in hindsight, do you feel like them were scary times?
Hell yeah. Thinking about it now, I'm scared thinking about it now. Like, I could have not been here. Like, he was right there. But I wasn't scared then. It was just I don't know, stupidity.
Did you ever go for further education or do anything with your schooling?
Yeah, after I graduated out of high school, and I was one of the kids that they just passed. Like, we don't even want your ass here no more. Like, we just gonna give you this diploma, just go on and go. So after school, I say about a year or so later, I got pregnant with my daughter. And after having her, I believe she was about 4 months old, and I put myself through school for medical assistant. And that's when I actually taught myself how to read, by reading to my daughter, with the mindset that she a baby. She don't know. I don't know how to spell this. I don't know how to pronounce this. She don't know. So I taught myself how to read, reading to her. And from there, I started reading a lot of Donald Goines books, which I read all his collection. I think Donald Goines have about 15 books. And I read all his books. And that was my role to teaching myself how to read, by reading something that I was actually wanting to read.
Oh, that's good stuff. So, did you go to college?
Yeah, I put myself through college after I left my kid's dad, which was in 2011. And I say about 2014, 15, I started going to college, University of Phoenix, which I actually got my degree in business. In 2019, which is the same year that my daughter graduated out of high school with honor rolls. Now let's see how the roles reverse. I graduated out of high school, was not able to read up to par, and my daughter graduated out of high school honor rolls with a GPA of 3.6. Gotta change your life.
Congratulations on both the degree and your daughter.
Thank you.
We need more of that in our community as well.
Yeah, because I tell people that just because you are the way you are and you were the way you were, that should not be the destiny for your kids. And that was my real focus and my real grind and push with my kids, that I don't want them to go through what I went through. And a lot of people really misconstrue what I say when I say this, but my kids only have two options, and there are only two options with me: is you're going to do what I say do, or you're going to do what I say do. We're not negotiating nothing. So with that being said, my daughter played basketball just as I did in high school, but the difference with me, 9th grade, 10th grade, I started smoking weed and I stopped playing basketball. My daughter played basketball from 8th grade, which even then I started trying to assist then with being assistant coach at Vanguard, which a lot of people may not know that, to help the team out. Instead of talking about the girls, I actually went to help the girls and became assistant coach for Vanguard. My daughter's in the 8th grade at Vanguard. And from there, you know, all my skills that I have as far as playing basketball, which I can play basketball, y'all. I'm just a little older now. But I've taught my daughter how to play basketball and helped her with how she do what she do. And she played basketball. But my thing was, my daughter displayed to me as a little girl how smart she was, because she was always on honor roll from elementary all the way up until high school. And I made her stay right there and be that smart person and be that person that retains information. And that's what you see now. There's the baby from the Navy.
Where are we at right now?
Right now, we're in my office. We're in Moma Boo office, a.k.a. Miss Boo office, up here at PCI, which PCI is a legendary building. Back with the Peace Treaty, 92, the Bloods and the Crips used to come here, you know, to resolve their differences or what have you. Fast forward to 2020. All my paperwork was finally finalized, like after over a year of going through the process or what have you. And I met up with my older homeboy, Kenneth, and I've been here ever since. So, you know, we pass out the food every second and fourth Friday of every month, as well as I give out hygiene products. And you guys probably have seen that on my website or on my IG. And I mentor and counsel teen girls and young women at risk.
Do you actually have a warehouse for the food that you give away?
Yeah, it's a big warehouse. Like, this building is big. Like, I'm trying to figure out what we gonna do and talk to Kenneth about what we gonna do. And I mean, matter of fact, me and Kev gonna walk through here and we gonna show y'all how big it is. That freezer, you can back a truck up into that freezer. Oh no, we have space.